Hello everybody and welcome to the education for our Fleurs lovely new collection of roses, and this one we're going to be working with the hybrid tea rose. So this is the rose that we're going to be making. Isn't it beautiful? And then as you can see, the medium that we're using is something new to us. We're making these with crepe paper. Now there's just a couple of things that you need to know about the crepe paper that is super easy to be able to work with it. It's fabulously stretchy. So we've got a wonderful quality crepe paper for you that's got 180% stretch. So if you cut a piece of crepe paper that was 18 centimetres, when you pull that apart, it will be double that, okay? So it adds a lot of stretch. So that then is going to be able for us to be able to manipulate and shape these beautiful petals. Now, one other thing that I need to tell you is when you actually get it, sometimes it is in a roll and it be quite tight. You can iron this, okay? Don't iron it like that to stretch it. Iron it as it is open. Don't use steam and just press it and it will lay it flat, okay? If you're struggling with it, keep rolling in. It can be ironed and it ironed flat. So for this particular one, with all of our roses, you can fold your piece. This is a whole piece, okay? Then fold it so you can fold them in four. So you're going to be cutting 4 petals at a time, which is just wonderful. Now, the other thing that you need to know about the crepe is that it's got a grain. So the grain runs like this. You can actually see that there on the screen. So the grain runs from the top to the bottom, okay? And the other way is the stretch if we pull it. Now, what you need to do to actually get the petals for it to be able to be formed properly is the grain needs to run with the petal, okay? So it needs to run down the petal, so from top to bottom. So when you lay your dies on it, have them so they run this way, so the grain is running down this way. Yes, we've got a few here that run in a different direction. Don't worry about those. That's for when you're using it with the foam. We've given you a few extra petals for the actual foam, but these you're cutting 4 petals at a time, okay? And when you've cut them out, just pop them to one side, and then I would colour them and shape them. But once I've cut these out, I leave them in the piles as they are. So that's a good way of working with it. So that's what all you need to know is that 1, you can iron it if you're struggling with it rolling, and 2, make sure you lay your die down that the grain is working with the petals and not against the petals, okay? And then we'll be able to make all these wonderful new flowers. So like I say, we're working with the tea rose and it is beautiful. So here it is, and I've inked some of the edges. Isn't that stunning? And what's happened with using the crepe paper, it makes it very movable. It's very tactile as well. It's just fabulous. And having that grain, it adds an awful lot of texture, adding in that realism to the actual flower. So that is what we're going to be working with today. And I have the board with me. So we need 8 of these. This is the sizes, 6 and 6, okay? So when I've cut these out in 4s, but I would cut another one. So you're going to get at least 3 or 4 flowers, maybe 5 flowers out of one sheet of crepe paper with these, okay? These are our calyx or sepals, and then we have our little buds if you would want to use them. So let's pop this to one side and we'll build this flower. Okay, so I like to use hot glue gun for mine, and also I use wet glue. But one of the ways I've been actually making this is I've been using a little ball, which is polystyrene, but you can actually make these little balls out of cotton wool or just screwed up paper or foil, and just make a little ball and pop it on to your wire. So you will need some wires, which we have. That's part of the new collection. We've got wires and our lovely crepe paper. So I've added a little bit of glue and I've just popped in the wire inside like so. Then I've cut myself a bit of crepe paper, and enough that it's going to, because what I've done, I've stretched that first. Can you see how much give is actually in by the time you've stretched this out? I only cut a small piece and then I've really stretched that out. Now I'm going to glue this on here with wet glue. like so. Pop that over the top. And then little by little, I'm going to tuck in all these edges like so. Like this. And then hold on to this and just spin that around. If you've got quite a bit of paper, you can actually cut some of this away because you're not going to need all of this. So let's snip some of this away because that's a bit bulky. We don't need all of it. It's just enough to actually cover that fabulous bud in the middle. So that is that piece, okay, like so. So that is the centre of my rose, my little bud. And then bring these all forward. I've got a few that I haven't shaped, so I can show you how what the shaping is, but it's really easy, okay? And then by adding more petals, you can make them bigger or more like blousy, if that's a proper, you know, technical term. So we have one of them here. I've inked just on the edge on this particular one. The grain runs from top to bottom on the petal, okay? What we're going to do is just pinch the sides, each side, and just gently pull. And that creates this fabulous cup. We're not going to stretch at this point, and we're not stretching at the top, okay? We're just going to leave it as a little cup. Okay, so the same again, pinch both sides, just gently pull it apart. Look how much stretch that we've actually got on this crepe paper. Again, I'm not stretching at the bottom and at the top, it's just the centre petal. And then finally on this one, again, stretching that out, okay, not the tip or the base. And then we're going to add a little bit of shape. So I've taken my little cocktail stick again. This is a super handy little thing, or you could have a cocktail stick or one of those wooden kebab skewer sticks. They work fabulous for this, or even just your pokey tool, but I found the little wooden ones are a lot easier. So I'm going to put the cocktail stick to the tip of the paper, and we're working with the tip of the flower and just roll, and I've just pulled it away, okay? So again, to the tip, pinch and roll and slide the little cocktail stick out. Now, on our roses, you can either go to the top edge, to the right, or to the left. And by mixing all of these directions of which way you're rolling your petals, adds a little bit different interest to your petal, to your flower. So I'll do one at the top, I'll go one to the right, one to the left, oops, missed it, like so, and maybe another one just at the top. Okay, now going back to this beautiful little bud that we've made, we're going to actually apply glue just here. So I'm going back to my hot glue gun, a little bit of glue, and I'm starting a little bit of way up. I'm going to use my tweezers so I can keep my fingers out the way. And I'm taking that to the base of my bud and then settling it in. Then I'm going to rotate it with my next one. Again, about a third. I've added some glue. And now we're overlapping, okay? So we're creating that centre to the rose. Then a slight turn. Again, a third of the way. Put that on. Again, a slight turn of the rose. Pop that on there. Like so, and I'm only gluing in the middle. I'm not having glue around these edges, and that then will allow me on this one and on the others, if I wanted to, I'm going to lift that first petal and tuck it in. Okay, so now when I show you that, you can see that we've got that lovely centre going on. I'm just going to give it a little squeeze to bring those in, like so, and then just bring that in across the top, and that is the actual bud. If you wanted to, you could actually leave it like that, and that is a lovely little bud for a rose. But let's put our next layer on. So remember, we've got the bud in the middle, and again, we're only going a third of the way, but we're now going to overlap that first lot of petals. Okay. Whoops. Picked everything else up off my desk. So the next one, we're overlapping, and we're going to overlap that first lot, that first row. So where we've got a gap here, we've got these two. That one then overlaps in the middle. Rotate again. Add our glue a third of the way. And where we've got two overlapping, we put that one in the middle. Rotate again. Where it's overlapping, we pop that one in the middle. Rotate again. Tuck that in. And then wherever we've got a gap, we put overlap and pop it in the middle. Let me just have a look, see how I like that. Yeah. So we don't ever stack a petal on a petal and then on a petal. We always rotate it and overlap to one side. And look at that. Isn't that just divine? So for the final ones, we're going to do exactly the same thing again. But I'll now speed this up so you can actually get to see the finished flower. So a third of the way, I'm using my tweezers to keep my big fingers out of the way. Where we've got two overlapping, it goes in the middle, like so. Got two overlapping. So now you can actually, because this is a hybrid tea rose, it's up to you where you start laying your actual petals. So I've moved on a couple. Whoops. Pop that there. I'm still going in the middle of this V, in between two petals. So now I'm going to go in between these two. Rotate it again, in between these two. I'm just going to check my rose, that I'm happy with the placement. Yeah, so I'm going to go in between these two. And then I've got one more to pop on. Like so. And then finally this one. And again, I'm just have a quick check where I actually want that one to be. Like so. Then just give it a little squeeze around the base, and that is created that beautiful tea rose. So what we're going to do now is that we have our calyx. We've got a large and a small, like so. So the larger one, I've done these out of paper, so I'm just going to shape this one upwards and put the larger one on first. I'm going to use my tweezers and just pierce a hole in the middle of there. Slide that onto my rose and all the way up to the top. I can actually cut some of that away now because I don't need all of that, or I'll just make the hole a little bit bigger. That would be a better idea. So you can either pierce it, or with a pair of scissors, just put a little V, like so. So that then opens this up a lot more. So slide that on over the crepe up to the top. because we are actually going to finish this off with a little bit of that tape as well. So I've actually got that in place like so. A little bit of hot glue around the edge. And again, be careful when you're using the hot glue. I do tend to push on this with my tweezers to keep my fingers away from the hot glue until I know it's cooling down. And then I'll go in and actually give that a squeeze to the actual base. And if you wanted to, you can actually add a little bit of glue to these and press them in place so they stay against your rose petal. Okay, like so. And then the littler one that's already got the hole in, I'm going to shape this downwards, pop that in, and that is then the base, and it works the alternate way. Again, a little bit of glue, hold that in place like so. And then that finishes off the back of the flower. And again, just to finish off the actual wire, whoops. Give it a stretch so it's sticky. Roll that between two fingers and then continue rolling to actually finish off, oops, the rose. Take away my little stringy pieces, but that then gives us that beautiful tea rose.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button, subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notifications of all of our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.